Hi, everyone. I'm Tom Zimmerman. I'm delighted to be here in this fourth episode to talk about predictive processing and its utility to EMDR therapists. I think the predictive processing lens provides a really important opportunity for us. Predictions and our capacity to update the generative model of the world happen right now in this moment, not in hardwired fear circuits that are hundreds of millions of years old. As EMDR therapists, we already understand intuitively that we're helping clients update pieces of their mental model of the world that may not serve them in their current reality. We also understand far more than many other psychotherapists that we heal across prediction errors delivered experientially. EMDR is an experiential therapy. Bruce Ecker's memory reconsolidation lens is little more than a lower level of abstraction of the predictive processing worldview. Remember, in the Bruce Ecker conceptualization, we update stuck information when we activate a piece of it and then have the client sit with an experience that disconfirms the expectation or disconfirms the schema in the bad memory. This is literally the therapeutic demonstration of leveraging prediction error. EMDR therapists understand intuitively and through the AIP model that when we heal, stuck information encounters adaptive information. And the adaptive information comes from adaptive learning that we've also acquired experientially. EMDR is simply a lower level of abstraction of predictive processing. Much of EMDR's search for a mechanism has been an essentialist endeavor, assuming that we had to understand the precise mechanisms in specific brain regions that somehow allow trauma to transform. Maybe we just need to explain from this new understanding of biology, neurobiology, how EMDR's process of tolerably activating, slowing down, being present, noticing in this moment, and doing those things while the nervous system receives a left right stimulation allows the generative model of the world to be updated by processes that leverage prediction error and promote helpful forms of precision weighting. Predictive processing seems to be how the brain is organized across nearly everything that the brain actually does. For us, it provides the structure of a simpler and less pathologizing thread that connects past wounding to present symptomology. It provides a new and clearer structure for how transformational therapy should be conducted. It provides a new understanding of what emotions are. And we need language and new metaphors for all of this as we move away from a brain that is primarily reactive to one that is constantly issuing predictions from the only sources it has, the internal model of the world and the right now sensory system. Our generative model of the world was gained experientially through prediction, prediction error, weighting, which have continually refined both the model and how we largely unconsciously weigh subsequent sensory evidence. When substantial parts of the internal model of the world were built in a context of pervasive trauma, neglect, or awfulness, the predictive system may come to assign high precision weighting to the traumatic learning in the generative model and may underweigh present-based sensory information that might disconfirm it. This can result in a brain that pervasively overpredicts on safety and is not able to appropriately assess present-based sensory cues of safety. A predictive brain that constantly predicts unsafety long enough may struggle to appropriately manage the energy budget of the body, one of the key metabolic tasks of any allostatic system. And as we've learned from Lisa Feldman Barrett's work, a pervasively out of balance body budget can dramatically affect how other forms of sensory experience are weighted. In the predictive model, the nervous system has two main sources of information with which to reach conclusions about the outside world. It starts for people with severe trauma with a trauma haunted model of the world from which predictions of unsafety are overweighted, which are sent down to be checked against incoming sensory information about the world, which includes the pervasively awful state of your body. So, as we figure out how to do EMDR therapy and how it plugs into predictive processing, it's reasonable to assume that the mindfully noticing center of EMDR therapy turns up precision weighting on your right now sensory state, allowing different types of error signals than usual to be sent back to your brain to either issue revised predictions or to update the internal model of the world based on current sensory evidence. So, what does predictive processing have to say about AIP's model? How compatible are they? Can we put them next to each other and see what happens? So, Shapiro's AIP model, as it's commonly taught, has three chunks, and we'll cover each of them here sequentially. AIP model part one. The idea that the brain wants to process information adaptively is generally compatible with predictive processing and everything we've learned about neuroplasticity. Shapiro's description of what a memory is may need a little bit of adjustment. A memory is not a thing, the way a note card is a thing in an old card catalog, even though it feels that way. It's an active and context-dependent component of the generative model. Some of this is a difference of language and may not be that vital for our purposes right here today. AIP Part 2. Information can struggle to be assimilated when trauma occurs. In predictive processing, trauma can profoundly shape both subsequent predictions made by the nervous system, made by the brain, and how those predictions are weighted against sensory information. Remember, the nervous system has the generative model of the world and the right now sensory input. AIP Part 3. EMDR helps facilitate the linkage of the stuck information into your existing adaptive information. In predictive processing, healing updates your generative model, shapes future predictions, and may shift how those predictions are subsequently weighted in the future. We can't miss the observation that stuck information connecting with existing adaptive information is itself prediction error. If you want to read more about this, Eric Chamberlain has a marvelous Frontiers article titled The Predictive Processing Model of EMDR that expands on his earlier, really good article on its network model of EMDR therapy. One of the main things he points out is how prediction error is generated in the discrepancy between present-based awareness and the expectations encoded in the traumatic memory. He also cites other research that demonstrates that directing attention to the sensory information that's generating the prediction error, for instance, sensation in the abdomen, sensation in the throat, amplifies the error signal, which may prompt the brain to either minimize the error or to potentially trigger memory reconsolidation. Across many fields, neuroscience is exploring the need to have experiences that leverage prediction error for the purpose of updating our internal model of the world. This is something transformational trauma therapists know a lot about. I think it's helpful to zoom out and explore the role of experiential disconfirmation or sensory-based prediction error generally in healing. I think it's something we understand really intuitively as somatic practitioners. Predictive processing makes the clear case that healing has to happen experientially, and it has to happen in the present sensory system. It makes clearer than ever that deep, mindful, and present based experiential noticing may be one of the only things that we have that can shift precision weighting in a way that can update your generative model of the world, which is in your head. Your emotions are not the byproduct of your limbic brain. They're the byproduct of your predictive brain, making the best statistical guesses that it can based on what happens when we touch this memory territory generally. To generate different predictions, we need to have different experiences. It's non-controversial to suggest that we're wounded experientially. Among EMDR practitioners, it's clear that we heal experientially. Every EMDR session we've ever seen that is transformational, we've witnessed someone heal experientially a tiny piece of their internal model of the world. Whatever's happening in EMDR therapy, it's clearly an experience that updates how that memory will be experienced when accessed in the future. In the predictive processing lens, it literally generates a new cascade of predictions aligned with the new learning that has occurred. We can see firsthand how resolving memory changes how the client subsequently experiences the world and themselves, i.e., their generative model, even when the shifts are small, as they often are with complex trauma. We see adaptive information in EMDR therapy showing up when a difficult memory resolves. Working on one memory causes other memories we never have to touch to resolve through generalization. As transformational trauma therapists, we see this really, really close all day. We also understand that when we heal, we do so across prediction error. You can't connect a lie to a lie in EMDR therapy. An informational juxtaposition is required in EMDR therapy. And as Bruce Ecker demonstrates so clearly in his view of therapeutic memory reconsolidation, we heal when we activate a specific piece of difficult learning and then ask the client to sit with an experience that disconfirms the expectation or schema in the bad memory. Ecker is predictive processing, just at a lower level of abstraction. EMDR is yet another way to do the same thing at an even lower level of abstraction. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about many of the allied ways of healing, somatic ways of healing, and other ways of healing, and how they also leverage predictive processing and prediction error, and how they shape what we attend to and how we attend to it. So come back for episode 5. We're gonna have a good time.